Hello, business owners, my fellow friends, business associates, and also my fellow citizens. My name is Daryl Guberman, and I am the CEO of Guberman PMC LLC, a quality consulting firm here in Connecticut / registration company, assisting companies implementation, ISO certification, and all derivatives. We've been doing that for just about 13 years in consultation as well. We have been bringing to light this factor about Boeing. In fact, tomorrow an article is going to hit the presses, a featured article concerning this mess, and you will discover within the context of that article all the necessary data to make your conclusion up that when you sit your behind or tuchus or Poussin on a plane seat, you're going to find out that for 22 years, Boeing gave up supplier auditing to a piece of paper. You're going to find out with this video today. That is, again, the FAA gives Boeing 90 days to fix quality control issues. Critics say they run deep, and Daryl Guberman, quality authority, says, is this a joke? It is a joke. The only one that I know that could fix things in 7 days is God, and you hear that in the Bible. That's it. This organization can't do it. It's impossible to do it. They've just rearranged the furniture a little bit, but the music maintains its same saying. It's all the same. We offered our assistance with myself and my team to get Boeing out of this shitter. If they got me on board, we'd be able to do that in 90 days. 90 days or less, because we've had experience. We've cut our teeth on aerospace. Rotary wing helicopters. We cut our teeth on it. And we know where the weaknesses are in every industry in the aerospace arena. So 90 days they're given. I'm going to show you this, business owners, my fellow associates, my fellow friends, and my fellow citizens. Hold on tight, because they will not do it in 90 days. Because how can an FAA regulator, Boeing, since 2009, be regulated by the FAA? Can you tell me this? It is almost utterly preposterous what they just said. 90 days. It is a joke. So let's tell you what the problem is too. It's systemic in all industries, because the American National Standards Institute and the American National Accrediting Board are to blame for all of this mess, many things. They are an underwriter for the International Accreditation Forum, which is a repository for both national and international accreditation bodies. They are also an underwriter for those bodies that sit on the IAF, that are an IAF MLA, which is a multilateral agreement organization, or a multi-regional agreement, MRA. They are equivalent in accreditation, and also ANSI and ANAP take full responsibility, because we have the data that proves without a shadow of a doubt that ANSI and ANAP are underwriters, which means they take full legal responsibility for Boeing's quality issues and for the crap that they dispense. Because right now you're going to find out that Boeing in 2002 gave up their supplier auditing to a piece of paper accredited by ANSI ANAP. That's no bullshit. That's a fact. You're going to find out in 2009 where the FAA, here is Mike Whitaker, where you'll find the FAA gave up regulatory authority to Boeing. So how can a regulator regulate a regulator? They're bullshitting us, the citizens, the people who fly in those planes. But I know what you're saying right now. I've said it in many videos. Daryl, more people die in car accidents than in a plane crash. But think about this. For 22 years, they have not really inspected any of the parts that are coming out of their suppliers. So you're sitting on a ticking time bomb. When? Who knows? Where? I don't know. Maybe, could be, possibly. But let's continue. You have the American National Standards Institute, which is a private, not-for-profit, non-governmental corporation. Been involved with governments. They make standards, and they're an accreditation body. They have both federal agencies and corporations on board. And they are a not-for-profit corporation, non-governmental entity that's been around for over 100 years. In 2018, ANSI took over complete control of the American National Accrediting Board. And during this time, between 2015 and 2021, They were being watched over by a communist Chinese national, Zhao Jinwu, who was handed over leadership in 2015 to 2021. He is also, at that time, the chairman, chief executive of the China National Accreditation Services that certified the laboratory of Wuhan, China, that released the COVID virus, because you had a Miss Pamela Sale in 2018, who was the vice president of accreditation for ANSI ANAB for laboratory. She basically confessed that from one laboratory to another, they lack protocols. They lack protocols. So how can they issue a certificate? On top of it, when Zhao Jinwu was issuing the certificate through the China National Accreditation Services, which is equivalent in accreditation to ANSI ANAB, he gave it to the laboratory, and in 2018, so contingency went there to the lab and asked the scientists, is there anything that they needed? The scientists broke down and said, we need trained technicians for the laboratory. In May of 2019, the CDC came out with a training document for bio-level 4 laboratories in China. Not anywhere in China, just in Wuhan, China. And they said on page 3 that the most important part of any well-run bio-level 4 virus or highly contagious laboratories is for well-trained technicians. Well, Zhao Jinwu issued a certificate to an untrained shop, basically, an untrained lab, because a year later, the scientists were crying to the American contingency about not having trained technicians. ANSI and ANAB. ANAB sits on ANSI's board. You have Boeing. I will not go into, but I will right now. I have to go into this. That you have 7 different registrars that sit over by Boeing, that I am sure without a doubt many of their suppliers use these registrars that are accredited by the American National Standards Institute. Yes, a shame, isn't it? Is there any confidence in the integrity of quality? Absolutely not. In 2002, Boeing came out with a supplier notification that stated, and I quote, on-site Boeing survey, which means audit, of suppliers' quality system if need be. Our preference is to deal with proven suppliers with excellent quality performance and not have to do on-site quality system audits or surveys. So in 2002, ladies and gentlemen, this is what Boeing did. Nobody has tried to correct me. How can they correct me? This is a document that they don't want you to see. I've had this document, and I've done this probably for the last 4 years to expose this, but nobody has gotten it into their head. Because how do you feel about Boeing accepting a piece of paper, an AS9100 certificate that is accredited by ANSI ANAB from their supplier? They send the certificate in, and the AS9100 is for aerospace, international standard. They send it in to Boeing. Boeing checks it off the sheet. They say, send in your parts. We don't have to send any inspection to your site, to your facility. So you don't know whether your parts are being produced in a swamp or someplace in a coal mine. You have no clue. And then this is the Peressa resistance. So when they're saying that they want results in 90 days, the FAA, how in good conscience can they get results from the FAA when Boeing is the FAA? And here it is. The FAA increased the authority of Boeing's commercial airplanes division to self-certify its own aircraft. What does self-certify mean? Do you know what that means? And this is where the problem comes in too. They're squawking about Boeing with the MCAS and all the rest of this mess, how the Ethiopian and Indonesian airline crashed, all this other mess. But here's the Peressa resistance. This tells you how they got away with putting the MCAS in. They didn't have to tell the FAA. They are the FAA. The system allows Boeing employees to perform tasks on behalf of the FAA that include oversight of testing and product standards, along with certification of aircraft technologies and new aircraft designs. So along with certification of aircraft technologies like MCAS, Boeing is the FAA. The next is Boeing itself. It sits on ANSI's board, right over by no other than the FAA. You also have their supplier portal that states that the supplier must be ANSI ANAB accredited or internationally equivalent. But hold on a sec. They sit on ANSI's board. Is there any oversight? Is there any confidence in the integrity of quality that that certificate that they get from their suppliers is relied upon? What do you think? Tell me, business owners and my fellow citizens, do you feel comfort in the factor that Boeing is sitting right over and telling you that you have to have that accreditation body, ANSI ANAB? We have a word in the quality community called schmuck. What are you, a schmuck? That's it. That's a quality term. But let's go out even further. Boeing, while they were a regulator, fudged documentation, skipped quality processes, and got rid of a lot of inspectors during Dennis Muhlenberg. 900 inspectors they got rid of. They got rid of inspectors. In 90 days, they're not going to be able to do it, but since they're an FAA regulator, they're going to whisper in Mike Whitaker's ear, write a nice little report, and then they're going to say, oh, Boeing did a great job. They can't do it. It's impossible. It is impossible. You'll have videos and articles down below in the description where I attest to the impossibility. In quality in the aerospace arena, when I go to talk to these people and I try to get them to be turned on to GPMC registrars, but they said, Daryl, we can't because Boeing only accepts ANSI ANAB. Well, you know why? Because they sit on the board. They sit on the board of directors. They sat on the board that could grant, suspend, and withdraw certification. And now they're going to tell you, well, we're off the board. They still have control because they sit on ANSI's board. This is what they tell me. Daryl, you got to pay to play. Pay to play. And if you have that type of methodology that is running your organization, do you think those suppliers to Boeing really give a shit whether their parts come in good or not? I'm not saying we have to add the human factor into this. The reason why you send out a source inspector is ensure that that part isn't being made in somebody's garage. That part isn't being made in somebody's garage or out in a swamp or in the woods. You have to make sure of that. And do you know something? By you just accepting a piece of paper for 22 years as a viable form of somebody's quality, it is disgusting because it is not the piece of paper that makes the company. It is the management and personnel that makes the company and the product good. So you cannot have reliability on a piece of paper. My name is Daryl Guberman. I am the CEO of Guberman PMC LLC, a quality consulting firm in Connecticut. I have lived by the rules of my parents: integrity, honesty, and the truth. What do these people live on? I have no clue, but they're not going to be able to get Boeing done in 90 days. But remember, Boeing is a regulator. Boeing attests to its quality through a certification that they sit on the accreditation body of that certification. For 22 years, they've done that. And remember this, the truth will set you free, but not until it is finished with you. David Foster Wallace, 203-556-1493, or Daryl, TQRS @yahoo.com. I thank you.